Hello, and welcome back to the Sleepy Professor channel. Tonight we're going on a peaceful journey together, a journey into the quiet, beautiful world of solitude. So settle in, get comfortable, and let your mind drift as we explore 50 gentle truths about the gift of being alone. Take a deep breath, let it out slowly, and let's begin. Imagine your mind as a vast library, with thousands of books scattered across tables and floors. When you spend time alone, something remarkable happens. Your brain begins to reorganize itself, filing away experiences, sorting through emotions, and creating order from chaos. Neuroscientists have discovered that solitude activates the default mode network in your brain, a state where your mind can wander, process, and heal. It's like giving your consciousness permission to tidy up its own rooms, one by one, in its own time. And speaking of time, when we're alone, something curious happens to how we experience it. In solitude, time stretches, like warm honey. Without the constant interruptions of others, without the need to coordinate and compromise, hours become truly yours. You might spend 30 minutes watching clouds drift across the sky, or lose yourself in a single chapter of a book. There's no rush, no schedule imposed by anyone else, just you and the gentle rhythm of your own heartbeat, marking moments that belong only to you. This freedom with time creates space for something we often forget in our busy lives. When was the last time you heard your own thoughts, uninterrupted? In solitude, that internal voice grows clearer. Without the noise of others' opinions, expectations, and energies, you begin to remember what you actually think, what you actually feel. It's like tuning a radio. Slowly the static fades away, and there it is, your authentic self, speaking clearly for perhaps the first time in a long while. This voice guides you toward understanding something profound about yourself. Being around others, even people we love, requires energy. Every conversation, every smile, every moment of being on draws from an invisible well inside you. Solitude is when that well refills. Studies have shown that introverts and extroverts alike need time alone to restore their emotional and mental reserves. Think of it like a phone battery. You can't give to others when you're running on empty. Alone time isn't selfish, it's essential maintenance, and as your energy returns, you become more capable of something beautiful. The greatest artists, writers, and thinkers throughout history have sworn by solitude, not because they disliked people, but because creativity needs space to breathe. When you're alone, your mind stops performing for others and starts playing for itself. Ideas connect in unexpected ways. Solutions to problems appear as if from nowhere. This is because your brain, free from social processing, can dedicate its full power to imagination and innovation. This creative state connects deeply to another gift of solitude. In the company of others, it's easy to adopt their interests, their enthusiasms, their definitions of fun. But alone, you discover what genuinely lights you up. Maybe it's the feel of soil between your fingers as you garden. Maybe it's the rhythm of your footsteps on a solo walk. Maybe it's the quiet satisfaction of organizing a drawer. Without an audience, without anyone to impress, you find your true pleasures, small, honest, and entirely your own. These personal joys lead you to understand something about your pace. Some people are hummingbirds, quick and darting. Others are elephants, slow and thoughtful. In groups, we often have to match someone else's pace. But in solitude, you can be exactly as fast or as slow as you need to be. You can linger over breakfast for an hour. You can power through tasks in focused bursts. There's no one rushing you, no one holding you back, just your natural rhythm finally allowed to exist. This rhythm helps. You discover the truth about what you need. When you're constantly surrounded by others, your emotions can become tangled with theirs. Their anxiety becomes your anxiety. Their excitement drowns out your contentment. But in solitude, you can ask yourself, how do I actually feel? And then wait, patiently, for the honest answer. Sometimes you're happier than you thought, sometimes sadder, but at least it's real, and it's yours. This emotional honesty opens the door to deeper self-knowledge. There's a special relationship that can only develop when you spend quality time with yourself. You begin to understand your quirks, your patterns, your needs. You learn to comfort yourself when you're sad, to celebrate yourself when you succeed. You become someone you can rely on, someone you enjoy spending time with. This isn't narcissism, it's the foundation of a healthy, complete life. And this friendship with yourself makes you better at something unexpected. Here's a paradox. Time alone makes you better with people. When you're not depleted, when you know yourself well, when you've processed your own emotions, you show up more present, more generous, more authentic with others. You're not seeking from them what you should be giving yourself. You're not performing or hiding, you're just there, fully. And people feel that difference. This presence comes from understanding a fundamental truth. Your body knows what your mind sometimes forgets. Being around others activates your stress response system, even in positive ways. Your body produces cortisol to help you navigate social situations, stay alert, read cues. But in solitude, these levels drop. Your shoulders relax, your jaw unclenches, your breathing deepens. Scientists have measured this. Time alone literally calms your nervous system, lowering blood pressure and reducing inflammation. This physical relaxation creates space for mental peace. That quiet inner knowing, that gut feeling, that sense of yes or no. It's always there, but it speaks in whispers. In the noise of daily life, surrounded by the opinions and energies of others, it's impossible to hear. But in solitude, in stillness, that voice becomes audible. You start to trust it, you start to follow it, and you discover it rarely leads you astray. This intuitive wisdom helps you understand your boundaries. When you know what your solitude feels like, when you understand its value, you become protective of it. You stop saying yes to every invitation, every request, every demand on your time. You realize that no isn't rejection, it's self-preservation. It's honoring your needs, and the people who truly care about you will understand and respect this. This boundary setting is an act of self-respect that transforms how you view yourself. When your sense of worth depends on external validation, you're on shaky ground. But time alone teaches you to validate yourself. You accomplish something with no one watching, and you feel proud anyway. You exist without an audience, and you realize you still matter. Your value becomes internal, stable, and unshakable because it comes from you. This inner stability helps you face something we often avoid. We all have parts of ourselves we'd rather not look at. Fears, regrets, shame, anger. In company, we can distract ourselves from these shadows. But in solitude, they emerge. And while this sounds uncomfortable, it's actually a gift. Because only by facing these parts of yourself in the safety of your own presence can you begin to integrate them, understand them, and ultimately make peace with them. This inner work leads to a surprising sense of freedom. So much of modern life is performance. We curate our social media, craft our public personas, manage how others perceive us. It's exhausting. But when you're alone, the stage lights go off, the curtain closes, you can stop acting and just be messy, imperfect, real. There's a profound relief in this, lightness that comes from not having to be on. This authenticity connects you to something deeper. Whatever spirituality means to you, whether it's traditional religion, nature connection, meditation, or simply a sense of something larger than yourself. Solitude opens the door. Mystics and monks have always known this. In the quiet, in the alone, the sacred becomes accessible. You feel connected to something beyond the mundane, beyond the surface of daily life. This spiritual awareness brings a sense of proportion. That argument, that mistake, that worry that loomed so large, in solitude, with perspective, it often shrinks. You realize how much energy you've been giving to things that don't really matter. You see the bigger picture. You understand that this too shall pass. Solitude gives you distance, and with distance comes wisdom. This wisdom helps you appreciate something often overlooked. We're so afraid of boredom that we fill every moment with stimulation. But when you're alone, when you allow yourself to be bored, something magical happens. Your mind starts generating its own entertainment. You notice things. You wonder about things. You become curious again. Boredom, it turns out, isn't the enemy. It's the birthplace of imagination. This rediscovered imagination leads to practical benefits. When you're stuck on a problem, sometimes the best thing you can do is be alone with it. Without the input of others, without the pressure to find a solution right now, your subconscious mind goes to work. You might be washing dishes or staring out a window when suddenly, there it is, the answer. Clear and simple. Solitude gives your brain the space it needs to solve problems in its own way, in its own time. This mental clarity extends to your relationship with the past. Grief needs space. It needs time. It needs privacy. In solitude, you can feel the full weight of your losses without worrying about making others uncomfortable. You can cry, rage, remember, and slowly begin to heal. There's no timeline imposed by others, no expectation to move on. Just you and your grief, moving together at whatever pace feels right. This emotional processing helps you understand your resilience. When you solve problems alone, comfort yourself alone, exist alone, you realize something powerful. You're capable, you're resilient, you're enough. You don't need someone else to complete you or save you. You are, in yourself, whole. This doesn't mean you don't need or want others in your life. It means you know you'll be okay either way. This strength allows you to embrace something counterintuitive. It seems backwards, but it's true. You can be more vulnerable alone than in company. You can admit your fears without judgment. You can acknowledge your weaknesses without shame. You can be tender with yourself in ways you might hide from others. This private vulnerability isn't weakness, it's courage. It's being honest about the full spectrum of your humanity. This honesty about yourself extends outward. When you understand your own complexities, your own struggles, your own inner world, you begin to understand that everyone else has these too. The person who annoyed you has their own pain. The person who seemed perfect has their own doubts. Solitude, paradoxically, connects you more deeply to the shared human experience because you've taken time to fully experience your own. This empathy is built on a foundation of something simple. In our culture, we glorify busyness, but solitude teaches you the radical act of simply sitting, not meditating, not producing, not achieving, just sitting, existing, being present in your own body, in this moment. It sounds simple, but it's revolutionary. Because in learning to sit with yourself, you learn that your value isn't in what you do, but in who you are. This practice of being rather than doing reveals something about time. Our society tells us we must always be productive, but solitude teaches you that rest, reflection, and simply being are themselves productive. They restore you, they fuel future action, they allow integration and growth. A field left fallow isn't wasting time. It's preparing for the next harvest. You are the same. This understanding of rest leads to better sleep. When you've had adequate alone time, when you've processed your day, when your nervous system is calm, sleep comes easier. Your mind isn't racing with unprocessed social interactions or undone tasks. Your body feels safe to let go. Studies show that people who honor their need for solitude report better sleep quality and fewer instances of insomnia. This improved rest creates space for dreams. Dreams are your mind's way of processing, integrating, and creating. When you give yourself mental space during waking hours through solitude, your dreams often become more vivid, more memorable, more meaningful. You might solve problems in dreams, you might access creativity, you might simply enjoy the nightly theatre of your subconscious mind. These dreams are part of a larger pattern. When you're constantly busy, life feels random. But in solitude, you can look back and see patterns. You notice that you always feel drained after certain activities. You realize you're repeating certain relationship dynamics. You see how your choices have led you here. This pattern recognition is essential for growth, for change, for living intentionally. These patterns help you make better decisions. Without the pressure of others' opinions, without the noise of competing voices, decisions become clearer. You can weigh options without bias. You can listen to your values, your priorities, your truth. The decision might not be easier, but it will be yours, and you'll trust it more because it came from a place of clarity rather than confusion. This clarity extends to your consumption habits. When you're comfortable in solitude, you need less external stimulation. You buy less to fill voids. You consume less media to avoid silence. You need fewer distractions, fewer possessions, fewer experiences to prove your worth. You become content with what is, rather than constantly seeking what's next. This contentment is rooted in presence. When you're alone, there's no one to impress, no conversation to navigate, no relationship to manage. You can simply be here, now. You notice the temperature of the air on your skin, the colour of the light through the window, the sound of your own breathing. Presence, full presence, becomes possible. This presence reveals the beauty around you, the way light falls across a room, the pattern in wood grain, the particular blue of the sky at dusk. When you're not distracted by social interaction, beauty reveals itself everywhere. You become attuned to it. You start collecting these moments of beauty like treasures, storing them in your heart. These treasures nourish something essential. Awe, that sense of wonder at something larger than yourself, is difficult to access in the bustle of social life. But in solitude, especially in nature, awe comes easily. You might feel it watching stars or observing an ant, or considering the complexity of your own existence. This awe is medicine for the soul, reminding you of your place in the vast, beautiful cosmos. This cosmic perspective makes daily annoyances smaller. When you've spent time in solitude processing your emotions, you're less likely to react impulsively to situations. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and instead of rage, you feel mild annoyance that passes quickly. A criticism lands, and you can consider it without defensiveness. Solitude creates emotional space that translates into patience and equilibrium. This equilibrium affects your physical health. Chronic social stress, even positive stress, can suppress immune function. But regular solitude, which reduces stress hormones and allows for genuine rest, supports your immune system. Your body can allocate resources to maintenance and repair instead of constant vigilance. You get sick less often. You recover faster. You feel healthier. This health includes mental wellness. For many people, social situations trigger anxiety. But solitude is a safe space where anxiety can be observed, understood, and managed without the additional stress of performing wellness for others. You can practice breathing exercises without self-consciousness. You can work through worries at your own pace. You can learn what calms you, what triggers you, what you need. This self-knowledge extends to joy. What makes you happy might be different from what makes others happy, and that's okay. In solitude, you discover your personal formula. Maybe it's quiet mornings with tea, maybe it's evening walks, maybe it's creating something with your hands. Whatever it is, you learn it not from magazines or influencers, but from your own lived experience. This authentic happiness makes you less dependent. When you know yourself, when you're comfortable in your own company, other people's opinions matter less. You still appreciate compliments, but you don't need them. You can handle criticism without crumbling. You're anchored in your own sense of self, which means you're less tossed around by the winds of others' judgments. This independence creates healthier relationships. When you're whole in yourself, when solitude has taught you that you're enough, you can love others freely. Not because you need them to complete you, not because you're afraid of being alone, but because you genuinely enjoy their presence. This is the difference between needy attachment and mature love. Solitude makes the latter possible. This mature love includes loving the world differently. Alone in nature, you're not a tour group or a photo opportunity. You're part of the ecosystem. You notice how the wind moves through trees. You understand that you're made of the same elements as everything around you. You feel connected, not as an observer, but as a participant in the natural world. This connection to nature reminds you of cycles. Just as nature has seasons, so do you. Times of growth and times of dormancy. Times of outward expression and times of inward reflection. Solitude helps you recognize what season you're in and honor it instead of fighting it. You stop trying to be summer all the time and learn to trust the wisdom of your winters. This trust in your own rhythm creates peace. When you're alone, there's no one to compare yourself to. You're not measuring your success against someone else's highlight reel. You're just you, living your life at your pace, with your particular gifts and challenges. This cessation of comparison is profoundly liberating. You can finally just be on your own path. This liberation allows you to explore, want to try painting but think you'll be bad at it. In solitude, you can try anyway. Want to sing, dance, write terrible poetry? No one's watching, no one's judging. You can be a beginner at something without embarrassment. You can explore interests without committing to them publicly. You can play, which is how humans learn best. This playfulness reconnects you with childhood. Somewhere in your childhood, before you learned to perform, before you absorbed others' expectations, you were purely yourself. In solitude, especially extended solitude, glimpses of that original self return. You remember what you loved, what fascinated you, who you were before you became who you thought you should be. This remembering is part of a larger journey. Without the constant reinforcement of others' expectations, you have room to change. You can try on new identities, new ways of being. You can let go of old stories about yourself. You can become someone new, not because anyone told you to, but because you chose it. Solitude is where transformation begins. This transformation is nourished by silence. At first, silence might feel uncomfortable, even scary, but spend enough time in it, and silence becomes a companion. You start to hear what silence contains: the hum of the refrigerator, distant traffic, your own breath. You realize silence isn't empty, it's full of possibility, full of presence, full of peace. This peaceful silence leads to something profound. In the deepest solitude, in the quietest moments, you might sense something beyond time, beyond self, beyond words. Some call it God, some call it consciousness, some call it the universe. Whatever you call it, it's real, and it's accessible only in stillness, only in solitude, only when you stop trying to grasp it and simply let it be. This eternal quality puts everything in perspective. This isn't morbid, it's clarifying. You won't be here forever. Your time is limited. In solitude, facing this truth, you suddenly understand what matters and what doesn't. The petty concerns fall away. You want to spend your precious time on what's real, what's meaningful, what's true. Solitude strips away the superficial and reveals the essential. And this brings us to the final truth. Loneliness is the pain of feeling disconnected, even in a crowd. But being alone, true solitude, is the joy of being connected to yourself, to the moment, to something larger. You can be surrounded by people and feel lonely. You can be utterly alone and feel completely full. Solitude teaches you this difference, and in learning it, you become free. Free to choose connection when you want it, and to choose yourself when you need it. Free to understand that you carry everything you need inside you. Always have, always will. And so, dear friend, we've reached the end of our journey through these 50 truths about solitude. As you drift now towards sleep, perhaps you'll hold one or two of these ideas gently in your mind. Perhaps you'll remember that being alone is not something to fear, but something to embrace. A gift, a teacher, a path home to yourself. Rest now. Let these thoughts dissolve like sugar in water, sweetening your dreams. You're enough. You have always been enough. And in the quiet of your own company, you will always find what you need. Good night.